She thought she was just helping a tired customer. But that one act of kindness cost her everything. Marissa Lopez was fired for paying for a stranger's meal at McDonald's, and that stranger was Elon Musk. But what happened next? A secret from the past, a shocking twist, and a life-changing opportunity she never saw coming. Before we continue this incredible story, let us know where you're watching from. If you enjoy stories like this, subscribe to the channel, because tomorrow we have another inspiring story you won't want to miss. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as Marissa Lopez wiped down the counter at the McDonald's in Fremont, California. It was late 11:30 p.m., and she could feel the exhaustion settling deep in her bones. Her feet ached from standing all night. Her back screamed for relief, and her arms felt heavy from hours of serving burgers and fries to an endless line of customers. But there was no time for rest. 30 more minutes until her shift ended, and then she would take the late-night bus home to her 2 children, Zoe and Miguel, who were probably fast asleep under the care of their kind, elderly neighbor, Mrs. Rodriguez. She stole a glance at the small, worn-out photo taped inside her locker. Zoe, 9 years old, with a missing front tooth, grinning wide. Miguel, 7, with oversized glasses, his small hands clutching a toy rocket. They were her reason for pushing through every exhausting day. Rent was due in 5 days, Miguel needed new shoes for school, and their fridge was nearly empty. Every dollar counted, and every extra shift was another step toward keeping the lights on and food on the table. "Order up," came a call from Jake, one of the grill workers, snapping her out of her thoughts. She grabbed the brown paper bag and set it on the counter with a forced but practiced smile. "Have a good night," she said, as a sleepy truck driver took his food and nodded. Tonight had been unusually busy for a weekday. Travelers, night shift workers, and truck drivers stopping by for a quick meal before heading back onto the highway. The rush had finally died down, leaving only the hum of the deep fryers and the occasional rustling of paper bags. "We got a car at the drive-thru," called Alicia, her co-worker from the headset station. "Can you take it? I need to use the bathroom." "Sure thing," Marissa sighed, straightening her cap and walking over. She put on her headset, forcing energy into her voice as she greeted the next customer. "Welcome to McDonald's. How can I help you tonight?" A deep, tired voice came through the speaker. Yeah. Can I get a large coffee, black, and 2 double cheeseburgers? Oh, and a large fries." Marissa punched in the order on the screen. "Will that complete your order, sir?" "Yes, that's all. Thanks." "That'll be $12.87. Please drive up to the first window." She looked up as the vehicle rolled forward. But this wasn't a typical late-night customer. No rusty old sedan, no massive truck. This was a sleek, futuristic-looking car, its black paint gleaming under the yellowish drive-through lights. Her brows furrowed slightly. It was unusual to see a car like that pulling up to a McDonald's at almost midnight. As the window opened, she reached for the card reader, ready to take payment, but then she froze. Sitting behind the wheel was Elon Musk. She recognized him immediately. The face she had seen on TV, on the internet, in news articles. The billionaire, the tech mogul, the man who built Tesla and SpaceX. What on earth was he doing at a McDonald's drive-thru this late at night? He looked different from the photos. Exhausted, with dark circles under his eyes, his normally well-kept hair slightly disheveled. He wore a simple, rumpled t-shirt with some science joke printed on it that Marissa didn't understand. He looked like someone who had been working for hours on end without a break. "Good evening, sir," she managed to say, keeping her voice steady. "That'll be $12.87. Elon reached for his back pocket, then stopped. His brows furrowed as he patted his other pocket, then checked the cup holders, the glove compartment. His face fell slightly as he let out a tired sigh. "Damn," he muttered under his breath. Then, looking up at Marissa, he said, "I think I left my wallet at the office. I've been working for almost 20 hours straight and my brain isn't working right. I guess I'll have to go back for it. Sorry to waste your time." Marissa's heart clenched. She had seen this look before, on parents who came in late at night, counting pennies to afford a Happy Meal for their kid. She had felt this exhaustion herself, after working double shifts just to make ends meet. She couldn't let him leave like this. "Wait," she said quickly, before she could talk herself out of it. Elon paused, raising an eyebrow. "It's okay. I've got it." Before he could argue, she pulled out her own debit card, the same card that had only $43.20 left until payday, and swiped it through the machine. "You don't have to do that," he said, looking genuinely surprised. "It's no problem," Marissa said with a small smile. "We all forget things sometimes." She printed the receipt and turned to grab his order. As she filled the bag, she made a split-second decision and added an apple pie. It wasn't much, but sometimes a little sweetness could brighten even the worst day. She turned back to the window, handing over the bag. "Here you go. I added an apple pie. You look like you could use something sweet after working so long." For a moment, Elon just stared at her. Something flickered in his expression, something almost like recognition. "Thank you, Marissa," he said quietly, his voice carrying an unexpected warmth. She smiled. "No problem, Mr. Musk. Get some rest, okay?" His eyebrows lifted slightly. "You recognized me?" She laughed lightly, nodding. "Of course. My son Miguel has a poster of you in his room. He wants to build rockets someday." Elon actually smiled at that. A real, genuine smile that reached his tired eyes. "Well, tell Miguel I said to keep dreaming big," he said, "and thanks again." With that, he drove off, his red brake lights disappearing into the night. Marissa didn't think much more about it. It was just a moment of kindness, nothing more. But she had no idea that her one small act of generosity would soon change everything. She didn't know that the security cameras had captured the whole interaction. She couldn't have guessed that by tomorrow evening the video would be spreading across the internet. As far as she knew, it was just another late-night shift, another day of trying to make it through. Little did she know, nothing would ever be normal again. The next morning, Marissa Lopez woke up before her alarm, her body still heavy with exhaustion from her night shift. She shuffled to the tiny kitchen, rubbing her eyes, and started making breakfast for Zoe and Miguel. As she cracked the last 2 eggs into a pan, she tried not to think about how little food was left in the fridge. Payday was still 4 days away. "Morning, Mama," Zoe mumbled sleepily, rubbing her eyes. Miguel was already at the table, adjusting his glasses as he doodled on a napkin. "Morning, sweetheart," Marissa said, forcing a smile. "Eat up before the bus comes." Her phone buzzed, then again, and again. At first, she ignored it, probably just spam texts, but then her sister Lucia called. Once, twice, 3 times in a row. Marissa sighed and answered, balancing the phone between her shoulder and ear as she flipped the eggs. "Lucia? What's wrong?" "Marissa, have you seen it? You're all over the internet." Lucia's voice was loud and excited, but Marissa barely understood what she was saying. "What? What are you talking about?" Lucia took a deep breath, then rushed out the words. "Someone posted a video from McDonald's last night. It shows you giving free food to Elon Musk. The video is going viral. You're being called the McDonald's angel." Marissa nearly dropped the spatula. Her stomach clenched. "Wait, how? Who recorded it?" Lucia laughed. "The security cameras, silly. Someone at McDonald's must have shared the footage. You need to see this." Marissa put Lucia on speaker and frantically searched for the video. It took only seconds to find. The title: McDonald's worker buys food for Elon Musk. Humanity at its finest. She clicked on it. The grainy security footage played out, her swiping her card, adding the apple pie, handing over the bag with a smile, then Elon Musk driving off into the night. The comment section was exploding. "She's so sweet, hope Elon gives her a Tesla." "This is the America I believe in. This woman just spent her own money on a billionaire? That is kindness." The view count was climbing by the second, already at 3 million views. Marissa's heart pounded. Her phone buzzed again. This time, a text from her manager, Mr. Daniels. "See me in my office when you get in tonight." Her stomach dropped. She knew the McDonald's rule book by heart. Giving away free food was strictly prohibited, even if she had paid for it herself. And the apple pie? That had been against company policy. Panic tightened her chest. Would she get in trouble? Fired? The rest of the day passed in a blur of worry. She worked her morning shift at the warehouse, but every break brought more missed calls, more texts, more notifications. People she hadn't spoken to in years were reaching out, congratulating her, calling her a hero. But she didn't feel like a hero. She felt sick. By the time she arrived at McDonald's that night, the situation had exploded even further. There was a crowd of people in the parking lot, some holding phones, taking pictures, recording video. "There she is!" someone shouted as Marissa hurried inside, pulling her hoodie up over her head. Inside, Mr. Daniels was waiting by the time clock, arms crossed, face red with anger. His voice was sharp. "Lopez, my office. Now." Marissa's heart pounded as she followed him, feeling every stare from her coworkers in the break room. The moment the door shut behind them, Mr. Daniels slammed his hand on his desk. "What the hell is this?" he snapped, spinning his computer screen around to show the viral video. Marissa swallowed hard. "Mr. Daniels, You broke company policy," he snapped. "You gave away free food to a billionaire, no less. Do you know how much trouble this has caused? Corporate has been calling me all day." She clenched her fists. "I didn't give it away. I paid for it myself." "And the apple pie?" His eyebrows shot up. "Did you pay for that too?" Marissa looked down. "No, sir, but..." "You don't get paid to think, Lopez. You get paid to follow the rules." He grabbed a stack of papers from his desk and slammed them down in front of her. "You're fired," he said, his voice like cold steel. "Effective immediately." The words hit her like a physical blow. "Fired?" Her voice shook. "But I've been here for 3 years. I've never been late, never called in sick." "Should have thought about that before you decided to hand out freebies to billionaires," he snapped. "Corporate policy is clear. No free food. Period." Tears blurred her vision as she grabbed a pen with trembling fingers and signed the termination papers. "Please, Mr. Daniels," she whispered, voice cracking. "I'm a single mom. I need this job. My kids." "Not my problem." He ripped the papers off the desk. "Clean out your locker and leave your uniform." Marissa stumbled to the employee locker room, Alicia following her. "This is so unfair," Alicia whispered. "You paid for his meal." "Doesn't matter," Marissa said hollowly, stripping off her uniform. Her hands shook as she pulled down the taped photo of Zoe and Miguel from the inside of her locker. Her children's smiling faces blurred through her tears. "What are you going to do now?" Alicia asked softly. Marissa didn't answer, because the truth was, she had no idea. Marissa Lopez stepped out of McDonald's into the cold night air, clutching the plastic bag that held her uniform. The sting of humiliation still burned in her chest, her face hot with shame. A small crowd had gathered outside the restaurant, their eyes locked on her like she was some sort of spectacle. "There she is," someone whispered. "McDonald's, Angel," another voice called. A teenager with a phone pointed right at her stepped forward excitedly. "Hey, miss, what's it like to be a viral sensation? Did Elon Musk pay you back?" Marissa froze. She wasn't sure what stunned her more, the fact that complete strangers knew her name, or the sharp reality that they had no idea what had just happened. She had no job, no money, no backup plan. Tears threatened to spill, but she forced herself to keep walking, head down, shoulders tight. The walk to the bus stop felt endless. Every step was heavier than the last. Her thoughts were a storm, swirling, crashing into one another. How would she tell Zoe and Miguel? How would she pay rent? The electricity bill was already overdue. What was she going to do? By the time she reached her tiny apartment, it was almost 1 a.m. Mrs. Rodriguez, her elderly neighbor, had been watching the kids and was asleep on the couch. "Thank you," Marissa whispered, gently shaking her awake. Mrs. Rodriguez yawned and stood up, gathering her things. "No problem, honey. The little angels were great as always." She frowned, looking at Marissa's face. "Are you okay? You look pale." Marissa forced a smile that hurt her face. "Just tired." Mrs. Rodriguez hesitated but nodded. "Get some rest, dear." As soon as the door clicked shut, Marissa collapsed onto the couch, staring at the ceiling. She could hear Miguel's soft breathing from the bedroom, Zoe's tiny snores. They were safe, asleep, and they had no idea their world had just fallen apart. Her phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Her hands shook as she checked the notification. Her face was everywhere. News outlets were covering the story. Celebrities were tweeting about it. McDonald's worker fired for buying Elon Musk a meal. Internet in uproar. Billionaire helped by struggling mom. Should she have been fired? Justice for the McDonald's angel. Public demands company response. Her stomach twisted as she scrolled. There were thousands of messages. People were praising her kindness, condemning McDonald's, asking where they could send money. She wanted to turn off her phone, pretend this wasn't happening. But then, a new headline made her blood run cold. Elon Musk responds to viral video. Looking for Marissa Lopez. If anyone knows her, tell her to contact me. Her breath hitched. She read it again and again, her pulse hammering in her ears. Elon Musk was looking for her? Why? She almost didn't notice the next text that came in. It was from Lucia. Marissa, call me. Now. Her fingers felt numb as she hit the call button. Lucia picked up immediately. Marissa, did you see what's happening? Elon Musk is looking for you. Marissa swallowed hard. I saw. Lucia's voice was breathless. Girl, you're trending worldwide. Millions of people are talking about you. Marissa ran a shaking hand through her hair. Lucia, I just lost my job. I don't care about any of this. Lucia's excitement immediately faded. Wait, what do you mean you lost your job? Marissa closed her eyes, exhaling shakily. Mr. Daniels fired me tonight. Said I broke company policy. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. Then, that's bullshit, Lucia said, her voice hard and furious. You paid for that food yourself, and they have the nerve to fire you? Doesn't matter now, Marissa whispered. The hell it doesn't, Lucia snapped. Marissa, people are pissed. The whole world is talking about you, demanding McDonald's take accountability. You have leverage right now. Marissa laughed bitterly. Leverage? Lucia, I can't even afford rent next month. Another silence. Then, Lucia's voice softened. I know, but listen. Elon Musk is trying to find you. This could be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Marissa hesitated. A once-in-a-lifetime opportunity? She wanted to believe that. She wanted to believe that something good could come from this disaster. But right now, she just wanted to sleep. Lucia, she whispered, I need to figure out how to take care of my kids. I don't care about going viral. Lucia sighed. I get it, but promise me this. If Elon Musk reaches out, you'll answer. Marissa's heart thumped painfully. Would Elon Musk actually reach out to someone like her? Or was she just a passing headline, forgotten in 24 hours? I promise, she finally said. After she hung up, she turned off her phone, placed it on the kitchen counter, and stared at it like it was a ticking bomb. Then she dragged herself to the bedroom, kissed her sleeping children on their foreheads, and collapsed onto the thin mattress beside them. As she drifted into exhausted sleep, she had no idea that her life was about to change forever. Marissa barely had time to process the whirlwind of attention surrounding her before her phone buzzed again the next morning. She groggily reached for it, expecting another flood of notifications, but the message on her screen made her jolt upright. Unknown number. Miss Lopez, I'd like to meet with you regarding your recent experience. Please come to Green Bean Cafe at 2 p.m. Marissa's heart pounded against her ribs. She stared at the message, reading it again and again. Could it really be? No, that was crazy. There was no way Elon Musk himself had just messaged her, right? Maybe it was a prank, or a scam, or worse, a trap. Marissa swallowed hard, her thoughts spiraling. After what happened, she wouldn't be surprised if reporters or internet trolls were trying to set her up. She was still struggling to accept that she had become a viral sensation overnight, that the world now saw her as the McDonald's angel. But what scared her the most? She was jobless, broke, and had 2 kids depending on her. The idea of walking into something blind terrified her. But then she thought about the rent due in 2 weeks, the final notice on the electric bill, the way Miguel's sneakers had holes in the soles, but he never complained. What if this was a real opportunity? A voice inside her whispered, "You can't afford to ignore this." Marissa took a deep breath and texted back, "Marissa, I'll be there." At 1:50 p.m. she stood outside Green Bean Cafe, her nerves twisting into tight knots. The place was small but cozy, with large windows and the scent of roasted coffee drifting into the air. Inside, people sat at tables typing on laptops or chatting softly. Her hands clutched the strap of her purse tightly. What if this was a mistake? She could still turn around, walk away, forget any of this happened. But before she could second-guess herself any further, the doors swung open. A woman in a crisp navy blazer stepped out. Her blonde hair was perfectly styled, her movements precise. "Miss Lopez?" she asked with a polite but professional tone. Marissa hesitated, then nodded. "Yes." The woman extended her hand. "I'm Tanya Williams, an executive assistant to Elon Musk. Thank you for agreeing to meet with us." The name hit like a shockwave. So it was real. This was really happening. Marissa shook her hand, struggling to find her voice. Thank you for reaching out. Please, come inside," Tanya said, gesturing for her to follow. Marissa's legs felt like lead as she stepped into the cafe. The world tilted slightly as she spotted a reserved corner table. And sitting there, in a plain black t-shirt and jeans, was Elon Musk himself. Marissa's breath caught in her throat. The world's richest man looked up from his coffee and gave her a small, knowing smile. "Miss Lopez," he said, standing up and extending his hand. "It's a pleasure to finally meet you properly." Marissa's mind blanked. She had no idea what to say. So she did the only thing she could. She shook his hand, praying that whatever was about to happen next wouldn't be a mistake. Marissa sat across from Elon Musk, her heart pounding so loudly she was sure he could hear it. This wasn't just a dream. This was real. The man sitting before her wasn't just a billionaire. He was a visionary, a titan of industry, and the same exhausted man she had handed an extra apple pie to just days ago. And now he was here, wanting to meet her. Elon studied her carefully, his fingers wrapped around his coffee cup, his expression unreadable. Then, after a long pause, he leaned forward slightly. "First, I want to say, what you did that night, it wasn't just generous. It was extraordinary." His voice was quiet but firm. "You didn't know who I was, and you didn't hesitate. That tells me a lot about you." Marissa swallowed hard, shifting in her chair. It wasn't a big deal," she said, barely above a whisper. "I just saw someone who needed a meal. That's all." Elon shook his head. "It was more than that," he said, his gaze locking onto hers. "You were exhausted, working late, barely making ends meet, and yet you still chose to help a stranger." He exhaled. "People like you are rare, Marissa." The sound of her own name on his lips sent another shock through her. This was surreal. She had spent the past week searching for work, watching doors close on her, feeling like she was on the verge of losing everything. Yet here she was, sitting with the most powerful man in tech, hearing him talk about her like she was someone special. Marissa forced herself to focus. "Mr. Musk?" "Elon," he corrected. She hesitated, then nodded. "Elon, why am I here?" A small, almost amused smile touched his lips. "I wanted to meet the woman who reminded me what real kindness looks like." Marissa blinked, confused. Elon reached for something inside his jacket and pulled out a neatly folded paper. He slid it across the table toward her. Marissa hesitated before picking it up, her fingers trembling slightly as she unfolded it. Her eyes widened. It was a job offer. Not just any job, a position at Tesla. Customer Experience Associate full-time, salary $85,000 per year. Her breath hitched. Her mind couldn't process it. This can't be real, she whispered, staring at the bolded numbers, the Tesla logo at the top of the page. It's real, Elon said, his voice calm but certain. I don't believe in charity, Marissa. I believe in investing in good people. And you? You are someone I would bet on every single time. Tears burned the back of her eyes, but she fought them back. This wasn't just a job. This was a way out. A way to give her kids the life they deserved. I don't have a degree, she stammered, still unable to believe what she was seeing. I don't have office experience. I've worked in fast food, warehouses. I don't belong in a place like Tesla. Elon leaned forward, his expression intense. You have what we can't teach. Integrity, resilience, and the ability to make the right call even when no one is watching. Everything else? We can train you. Marissa's hands gripped the paper, her knuckles white. This felt too good to be true. But as she looked at Elon Musk, the man who had once been just a hungry customer at her drive-through window, she realized maybe this was the chance she had been waiting for. And maybe, just maybe, she was ready to take it. Marissa's hands trembled as she clutched the job offer, her mind racing through every doubt, every fear, every reason she wasn't qualified for this opportunity. And yet here it was, a future she never thought possible, laid out before her by Elon Musk himself. She swallowed hard and looked up at him. I don't know what to say, she whispered. Elon gave her a small, knowing smile. Then don't say anything yet. Think about it. This isn't a gift, it's an opportunity, and I believe you're more than ready for it. Marissa hesitated. What if I fail? Elon's gaze didn't waver. Failure is just a step toward success. I've failed more times than I can count, and I'm still standing. He leaned back in his chair. You remind me of someone, Marissa. Someone I owe a lot to. Marissa frowned slightly. What do you mean? He exhaled, almost as if debating whether to tell her. Then he pulled out his phone, tapped a few times, and turned the screen toward her. It was an old photograph, grainy, slightly faded, but strangely familiar. Marissa's breath caught in her throat. It was a woman behind a McDonald's counter, her dark hair tied back, her warm smile unmistakable. It was her mother. Marissa's heart pounded against her ribs. How? Where did you get this? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Elon set his phone down. I had my team dig through some old archives after I saw your name. I knew it sounded familiar. He tapped his fingers on the table. When I first moved to California, I was broke. There were nights when I couldn't afford a full meal. But there was a woman who worked the late-night shift at a McDonald's in Palo Alto. She noticed me struggling and gave me free food. He paused. Not just once, multiple times, enough to get me through those rough months. Marissa's vision blurred with tears. My mom worked the night shift at McDonald's when I was little, she murmured. Elon nodded. Her name was Elena Lopez, and I never got to thank her. His voice softened. Until now. A sob caught in Marissa's throat. Her mother, a woman who had worked tirelessly, sacrificed everything for her children, had unknowingly helped one of the most influential men in the world. And now, that kindness had come full circle, finding its way back to her family. Elon leaned forward. You were raised by a woman who didn't just believe in kindness, she lived it. And so do you. His eyes locked onto hers. This isn't just about a job, Marissa. It's about giving someone with heart, integrity, and resilience a chance to rise, just like your mother gave me that chance all those years ago. Marissa wiped at her tears, overwhelmed, shaken, and more determined than ever. This wasn't luck. This wasn't coincidence. This was legacy. And for the first time in a long time, She knew exactly what she needed to do. With a deep breath, she looked Elon Musk in the eye, her voice steady. "I'll take the job." A slow, genuine smile spread across his face. "Welcome to Tesla, Marissa." The weight of Marissa's decision settled in the pit of her stomach as she left the Tesla headquarters that day. She had just accepted a job that could change everything. A steady salary, benefits, a future, but more than that, an opportunity to prove to herself and her children that they were not trapped by their past, that they could build something new, that they could thrive. But doubt crept in like a shadow. Could she really do this? She had no corporate experience, no degree, just years of struggling to keep her head above water, working back-to-back shifts at fast food counters and warehouses. What if she wasn't good enough? What if she failed? Marissa took a deep breath as she stepped onto the sidewalk, the cool California breeze brushing against her face. No, she would not let fear control her. She had survived things far worse than a new job, and if she had learned anything from her mother, it was that sometimes you take the risk and trust that the road ahead will lead somewhere better. As she reached the bus stop, her phone buzzed with a message. "Tanya Williams. We'll have a company car pick you up on Monday for your first day. Welcome aboard, Marissa. We're excited to have you." Marissa exhaled sharply, still in disbelief. This was really happening. That weekend, she sat her children down at their small kitchen table, her hands folded in front of her, trying to contain her nerves. Miguel and Zoe watched her curiously. "Mama got a new job," she said, unable to keep the emotion from her voice. "A really good one." Miguel adjusted his oversized glasses, blinking at her. "At McDonald's?" Marissa shook her head. "No, baby, at Tesla." Zoe gasped, her little hands clapping together. "Like the cars? Like Elon Musk?" Marissa smiled. "Yes, sweetie, like the cars. I'll be working in their customer service department. It's a much better job than before. It means—" She swallowed hard, feeling the weight of the words before she spoke them. "It means we won't have to struggle as much anymore. We'll have enough money for rent, for groceries, for things like new shoes and school supplies without worrying." Miguel frowned. "Will you still be home at night?" Marissa's heart ached at his question. He was too young to have to worry about things like that. "Yes," she promised. "I'll have normal hours now. No more late-night shifts." Zoe beamed. "Does this mean we can get a dog?" Marissa chuckled, ruffling her daughter's hair. "Let's settle into our new life first, okay?" That night, as she tucked them into bed, she felt something she hadn't in a long time. Monday arrived faster than she expected. The Tesla pulled up outside her apartment at exactly 7:30 a.m., sleek and intimidating, a symbol of the new world she was stepping into. The driver, a friendly man named Carlos, opened the door for her, and for a moment she hesitated. This is it, she thought. This is where everything changes. She took a deep breath, squared her shoulders, and stepped inside. The drive to Tesla headquarters felt surreal. She wasn't just another fast food worker anymore. She was Marissa Lopez, Tesla's newest hire. As the car pulled up to the towering building, she let out a shaky breath and stepped out. Time to begin. Marissa sat at her new desk at Tesla headquarters, staring at the polished surface as if it weren't real. The sleek office, the company laptop, the nameplate that read Marissa Lopez, Customer Experience Representative. It was all so different from the world she had known just weeks ago. No fryer grease, no sticky counters, no barking managers counting the seconds she took on her break. Instead, she had been welcomed into an environment where people listened when she spoke, where her ideas mattered, where kindness wasn't punished, it was valued. The transition had been overwhelming at first, learning the systems, the protocols, the expectations. Everything was new. But as she settled in, she found that her greatest strength wasn't technical knowledge or experience. It was understanding people. One afternoon, a frustrated customer called, upset over a delayed delivery. Marissa listened patiently, sensing more than just irritation in his voice. My wife's been in the hospital, and I needed this car so I could drive her home when she's discharged," he said, exasperated. Marissa didn't read from a script. She didn't stick to corporate policies like they were written in stone. Instead, she did what came naturally. She helped. "Sir, I understand how important this is. Let me see what I can do," she said, and she meant it. Within minutes, she escalated the issue, arranging for the delivery to be expedited. When she called the customer back with the update, she could hear the relief in his voice. "You didn't have to do that," he said. Marissa smiled. Sometimes, the right thing to do isn't written in a rule book. She thought of her mother, of that long-ago McDonald's counter where a young, struggling entrepreneur had once stood, counting pennies for a meal he couldn't afford. Kindness had changed the course of his life, and now it was changing hers. As the weeks passed, Marissa's confidence grew. Her coworkers respected her, her boss praised her, and for the first time in years, she felt secure. Miguel and Zoe no longer worried about whether there would be enough money for groceries. Their apartment was warm, their fridge was full, and their future looked bright. One evening, as she was finishing up her shift, her phone buzzed with a text from Tanya Williams. "Mr. Musk would like to meet with you tomorrow at 10 a.m. in his office. Let me know if that works." Marissa stared at the message, her heart skipping a beat. Elon Musk wanted to meet with her again? She quickly responded, "Yes, of course. I'll be there." The next morning, she rode the elevator to the top floor, her palms damp with nerves. When the doors slid open, Tanya greeted her with a warm smile. "Go on in," she said. Marissa stepped into the expansive office, where Elon Musk stood by the window, gazing out at the Palo Alto skyline. He turned when she entered, smiling. "Marissa, good to see you." "Good morning, Mr. Musk," she said. "Please, sit." He gestured toward the chair across from his desk. As she did, he leaned forward, his expression serious but kind. "I wanted to personally check in and see how you're settling in," he said. Marissa nodded. "It's been incredible. I can't thank you enough for this opportunity." Elon studied her for a moment before speaking. "I didn't just bring you here because you lost your job. I brought you here because you represent something important. The kind of person I want in my company, someone who sees the human side of things." Marissa swallowed hard, unsure of what to say. "That's why I'd like to offer you something more," he continued. "I'm creating a new initiative focused on customer experience and empathy-driven service. I want you to be part of it." Marissa's breath caught. "Me?" "You," Elon confirmed, "because I believe you have a perspective that can help make this company better." Tears stung Marissa's eyes, but she blinked them away. She had spent her whole life believing she was just another person struggling to get by. But sitting here, across from one of the most influential men in the world, she realized something. She wasn't just surviving anymore. She was thriving. She extended her hand. "I'd be honored." Elon shook her hand firmly. "Welcome to the future, Marissa." As she left his office, her heart swelled with something she hadn't felt in years. She belonged here, and her story was just beginning. Marissa Lopez never sought recognition. She never expected fame, fortune, or life-changing opportunities. All she did was follow her heart, a simple act of kindness, paying for a stranger's meal, set off a chain of events that transformed her life in ways she never imagined. At the start of this journey, Marissa was like so many people in today's world, working tirelessly just to survive, juggling responsibilities, sacrificing her own comfort for the well-being of her children. Her reality was one that millions of hardworking individuals face: long shifts, low wages, and the constant struggle to make ends meet. She'd never thought that in a single night everything would change. When she swiped her own debit card to pay for a tired customer's meal, she didn't know she was standing at the drive-through window of fate. She had no idea that the man she was helping was one of the richest and most influential figures in the world. Elon Musk. But this story isn't about wealth, it's about values. It's about the fact that in a world often driven by self-interest, Marissa chose generosity. She acted out of human compassion, not obligation, and not for recognition. And because of that, something extraordinary happened. What does this story teach us in today's fast-paced, often harsh reality? First, kindness still matters. In an era where negativity spreads faster than ever, where we hear about greed, corruption, and division, this story reminds us that small, selfless acts can still change lives. Marissa didn't give away millions. She simply gave what she could in a moment that mattered. Second, opportunity can come from the most unexpected places. Many people feel trapped in jobs that undervalue them, in situations that seem hopeless. But this proves that one moment, one chance meeting, one act of integrity can open doors we never even knew existed. Third, the way we treat people, no matter their status, shapes the world around us. Marissa didn't know she was serving Elon Musk. She treated him with respect and kindness, not because of his wealth, but because she believed everyone deserved dignity. Imagine how different our workplaces, businesses, and society as a whole would be if more people embodied this mindset. Because of her small act of kindness, Marissa's life changed forever. She went from being an overworked, underpaid fast food employee to a valued team member at one of the most influential tech companies in the world. She no longer had to struggle to pay rent, worry about food, or fear for her children's future. But more importantly, she became an example, a symbol of what happens when kindness meets opportunity. Elon Musk didn't just offer her a job out of pity. He saw in her the qualities that truly make a great employee, a great leader: compassion, intelligence, and a willingness to do the right thing even when no one is watching. He understood that someone like Marissa didn't just deserve a job, she deserved a platform to help others like her. Her story serves as an inspiration to us all. To the struggling single parent working 2 jobs to keep the lights on, keep going. Your hard work is seen. Your kindness is not in vain. To the employees who feel unseen in their workplace, you never know who is watching, and you never know what doors may open for you. To the business leaders, CEOs, and those in power, remember that true leadership is not just about innovation or profit, but about recognizing and uplifting the people who make success possible. Stories like Marissa's remind us that the world isn't just about who has the most money, the biggest following, or the most power. It's about the small, everyday decisions that define our character. Imagine how different the world would be if more people chose kindness. If this story inspired you, if it made you think about the way we treat others, about the power of second chances, about how opportunities can arise in the most unexpected ways, then don't keep it to yourself. Share this video. Let others hear Marissa's story. Let this be a reminder that good things still happen, that kindness still matters, that the smallest acts can lead to the greatest outcomes. Like this video if you believe in the power of generosity. Subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories that remind us that no matter where we come from, no matter how hard life gets, there is always hope. And remember, your kindness may not always go viral, but it will always matter.